Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Sir, it is visible.
Am I audible?
Yeah, it is audible. Okay.
Okay.
Raman, you can start the live streaming on the YouTube. So I'll do the introduction of Naveen sir within 1 minute, and I'll hand over the sessions to the Naveen sir. Raman, live streaming started.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is visible. So let's sir, we'll start. Yeah, it is visible. Yeah, it is audible, sir. Sir, okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Digvijay Singh Rathod. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Naveen Kumar Chaudhary. He is working as a full-time professor in the cybersecurity, and he's also the dean of the School of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensic at National Forensic Sciences University. Along with the professor and dean of this school, he is also holding, and he is also the head of the training and the international relationship department of the National Forensic Sciences University, where Professor Naveen is handling the responsibilities to connect with the overseas industry, also with the university, also to make our relationship in a better way. Along with this, a head of training and international relationship department, he is also holding the additional charge of a director, campus director of a Goa campus, National Forensic Sciences University. If I am talk about Professor uh, Naveen sir's education qualifications, then the Naveen sir, he has done his bachelor degree in the information technology and the telecommunication engineering, and he is holding the master's degree in the engineering and the digital communication. Along with this master's degree in the engineering, he is also holding the MBA degree in the human resource management. Uh, he's also did his PhD in the engineering in the domain of cybersecurity and digital forensics. Along with this, he is also holding the various reputed certifications in the cybersecurity and the network security. As far as the experience concerned, then the Naveen sir have around 24 years of experience in the education, research, and in the consulting also. Before joining as a professor here at the School of Cybersecurity, National Forensic Sciences University, he was a director at Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, where he has handled a variety, various the important missions which was assigned by the Government of India. Prior joining the director at the Ministry of External Affairs, he was the faculty and the head of the department in the Faculty of Communication Engineering at Military College of Telecommunication Engineering, MOU, which is one of the prestigious institute of the military. Along with this, he's also, in his official capacity as a joint director and the director in the Government of India, he has, stripped a many cutting-edge ICT project and worked extensively on the policy formulations in the cybersecurity and the in governance. So if you can say that in the 24 years, the Naveen sir have the experience in the teaching also, framing the policies also, and also, handled some of the important missions inside the India and outside the India also. Uh, some of the flagship awards that the Naveen sir has earned during his 24 years of experience. He is the recipients of the letter of appreciation for the contributions towards the cause of literacy from the Brent Danish MP, Algoma, Canada in 1994. He's also received a Seva Award for his contributions to the cybersecurity education in 2022 at Dubai, and a variety of awards he has earned during his the 24 years of experience. I would say that today we are fortunate that we'll have the speaker like him, because he's not only the educationist, but he's also contributed in the research and the consultancy, in a extensive way. So I'll not take much time. Let me take this opportunities to welcome Professor Naveen Kumar Chaudhary, a School of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics, to deliver his talk on the OT security and challenges, which is, we all know that it is one of the crucial area that the every country needs to be taken care in the next 10 years. And as this university, as this school is celebrating the cybersecurity month, so as a part of the cybersecurity month, the school has decided that this month is dedicated to the OT security. So as a part of the celebrations, we have invited Professor Naveen Kumar Chaudhary to deliver his talk on the OT security and the challenges. I'll not take much time. I'll hand over uh, the talk to the Naveen sir. Naveen sir, please welcome, and sir, you can go ahead with your talk, sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Digvijay, my colleague and Associate Dean, School of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics. At the outset, happy Vijay Dashmi to all of you. And we know that this festival is celebrated with all the fervor and in a high spirit across the India. But at the same time, the current era is of information technology. The 21st century is century of information age. And people say that the information technology is going to write the new order of the world. Okay? Because the information technology has become so important, and on top of that, the cyberspace has been realized or has been recognized as the fifth realm of the warfare. So, in the context of today's festival Vijay Dashmi, it reminds us that this festival is celebrated and it marks the victory of truth over the evil. But at the same time, we have to understand now the evils are of different kind. The challenges we have in hand is going to be of different kind. The threats which we have is of different.
Dear all, please wait for a while. They might be having some technical glitch, so sir will join soon. Please be in a mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. Okay, let me share. Give me the privilege so I can share my slide.
Sir, it is visible.
Slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So shall I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the evil of this era is totally of a different kind than of the yesteryears. Now we need to be prepared. We need to have our check and balances and control in place, guard against these evil. And now there the cyber security takes the front seat. So with this backdrop, once again, a very, very happy Vijayadashmi and Dasara to all of you. Now, in the future, what I foresee, the way the technology has taken a front seat, the way technology is evolving, especially the cyber forensic technology. So what we do a Astra Puja today. So in the future, I believe that people will also start including the cyber astras in the future, because recently you know that one of the premium IT company, they have listed some of the software in the category of a cyber weapon. And already the media is flooded with different kind of news article, and every day you hear that this kind of malware is available, which can even destroy your hardware. So threats are emerging, and let me tell you, most of the articles which you read, it's not just a story, mere story, it also has a lot of truth in it. So one has to basically be prepared that the new set of challenges in the cybersecurity domain is of different kind, and there's a requirement of preparedness, there's a requirement of being ready, there's a requirement to put the procedures, SOPs, tools and technology in the place. Now, today's the presentation or the webinar is on OT cybersecurity, operational technology cybersecurity. So first of all, very briefly, I will touch upon that why I'm talking about OT cybersecurity. In fact, National Forensic Sciences University has decided to dedicate this month completely to promote the OT cybersecurity. Now, there are some major challenges the world is going through. The world for the last 3 years have been very tumultuous for the entire world because it's going through that wave of pandemic COVID-19. On top of that, there's a war between two countries that has really affected the supply line. There's a food shortage. There's an energy crisis in some part of the world. World is struggling with inflation. And on top of that, there were news that some of the critical national infrastructure, some of the sensitive industries, it was targeted by the hostile or the non-state actors, and even some of the state actors have targeted the critical national infrastructure of some of the hostile countries. Even India, you must have heard that India was one of the leading countries when it came to initiate the research on the vaccine. India was a leading country. But Indian pharma industry was very badly targeted by the cyber criminals, by the non-state actors. The research labs were targeted, and their vaccine research was adversely affected. Now, why these this kind of trend and why this sensitive industry, sensitive plants are being targeted. This is a new trend. This is a new trend. Let me tell you. Earlier, the major focus was on targeting the conventional ICT setup, breach their security, but now trending is changing towards breaching the sensitive industry or the industry cyber security setup. Why so? Because cyber criminals have realized there are two important things. For the cyber security, experts, now this is a new area of research or new area which is posing a lot of challenges. But then there are two reasons why this sector is being targeted. The cyber criminals are targeting the industrial plants. If they are targeting it for the monetary intention, they are very well aware that most of the industry, most of the plants, they have not geared up and they have not placed the appropriate cyber security framework, what is required to be put in place. So they are aware of that. This is one thing. The next thing is that some countries, they want to have a strategic advantage. Now, the world is totally moving towards a different kind of, confrontation, this different kind of warfare, tactics or strategy, wherein this cyber space is going to play a major role. So now, due to the reach of the cyberspace, now you have optical fiber plants, connectivity very well laid out in most of the countries. Continents are very well connected with the transatlantic optical fiber cables. So now bandwidth is not an issue. Now the speed is not an issue. The connectivity is not an issue. And now the 5G also coming. In India recently we have launched the 5G. So now the speed will not be issue, the bandwidth will not be issue. Now the issue is how quickly you can target the intended target and how much damage you can do or how cleverly you can take out what you want to take out from there. It is simply a cyber breach operation or it is a sabotage operation. You can do it quickly and you can get away. Now, the nations or the state actors which are looking for a strategic advantage or a military advantage, they have also started, keeping the sensitive or the critical national infrastructure of the hostile country or the country of interest in their target list. So there are many cases where one country has claimed or alleged of a cyber attack from a hostile country. So there are many cases like this are surfacing. Now, when we talk about operational technology, when we talk about the cyber security of the industry, you have to also understand the geopolitical setup of the world and how the cyber is dovetailing with the geopolitical development across the world. That is also very, very important. So cyber technology, cyber security is not only a subject of related to a technology or engineering or the security sciences, it also has a security implication. So one has to understand that. Now,
Sir,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but sir, your slides are not changing.
What is not clear?
Yeah, the slides are not changing.
Okay.
We are just asking about the slides.
So now, let's try to understand that when we talk about industrial control system, because when we talk about the industry security, what is important, how it is connected, what are the building blocks, and how we can protect them. That is also very important. Now, let's have a look. Okay. So when we talk about the conventional cyber security, wherein you have ICT devices or a network that primarily built on your ICT infrastructure, information communication technology infrastructure, there your priorities are totally different. There your priorities, why your priorities are different? Because it is the data which is important there. Now that's why people, they are calling data as a new oil, data as a new currency, data as a new, a dollar, data as a gold mine, data as a diamond mine. So whatever people they have come with, or they have coined many terms. Why? Because in a conventional ICT, it is the data which is important. And very true. Just look at the top 5 richest or the top 5 companies which has got a high profits or highest revenue last year. So you will find that among the top 5 companies, 4 companies are those which are primarily into ICT, and they have a huge data, and some of them have a huge public data in their repository. So it is not wrong. So when you look at the conventional cyber security, and wherein data is very important, so your priorities are, first of all, you want to ensure the confidentiality of that data, that data can only be used by the intended person. Then your second priority is the integrity of that data. That data should not be manipulated. The data should go to the intended recipient in the same format. The content should remain the same, whatever the originator has sent. And then the third thing is your availability. Whatever the security measure or the technology measures you are placing, it should not affect the availability of the data. It should be available to the end user whenever he wants. Okay. So one part is your technical part, security part, confidentiality, integrity, but at the same time, it should be available. Availability is also very, very important. Now, when we talk about the industry, it is other way around. Okay. Why it is other way around? That in the industry, you have the process which is very important. Okay. When we talk about the process, what happens that I'll just very briefly tell you what happened on 14th September 2019, and then you will understand that for the industry, why the process is very important. Okay, for the industry, the process is important because they can't afford their plant to be shut down even for a minute. If you people are keeping track of the news, you would have realized that on 14 September 2019, there was a drone attack on Saudi Aramco. What is the Saudi Aramco? This is Saudi Aramco, officially known as Saudi Arabian Oil Company, is the world's biggest oil producer. So what happened that about 10 drones attacked this Saudi Arabia's 2 oil plants. Okay. Those were located, one was located in Kuwait and another was located nearby in Kuwait. So, Cake oil processing plant and the nearby Kuwait oil field was attacked by the drones on 14 September 2019. Now, why these 2 oil plants are important? Because it nearly provides half of the Saudi national oil and gas companies' total output. Okay. And even it has a connect with the India. That time, Saudi Arabia was, if I remember the data correctly, it was the second largest importer of the oil to India. So it also had an implication on India. So with this drone attack on these 2 oil plants, what happened? That these 2 oil plants, the damages it incurred, it forced them to shut down these facilities, and it resulted in reduction in the production from 9.8 million barrels to about 4.1 million barrels of oil a day. And how much was the loss? Losing 5.7 million barrels of oil a day, or about 5% of daily global production. Okay, so it means this runs into billions and billions of dollars. Actually, the 2 oil plants meet more than 5% of global oil supply. The day after the attack, the Saudi stock market fell 2.3% during the Sunday trading, and the global markets opened on 16 September with Brent crude oil futures prices surging almost by 20%. It was the largest surge in the commodities price since the 1990 invasion of Kuwait, Iraq. So what I mean to tell you, even in the India, the very next day, the oil prices shot up. So I mean to say here no data was stolen, but still the oil prices shot up, the stock market fell, and the entire global oil supply chain was affected. What I mean to say that here your computer system was not hacked, simply a process was stalled, and the process was stalled because of the damage that was done by the drone to these 2 oil plants. So here, when we talk about the industry, the priority is your availability of the process. Priority is not your, priority is not your data here. So now here, the priority means the process availability takes the foremost importance, and then thereafter comes your integrity, and at last comes your confidentiality. So this is the security goals when we talk about industrial cyber security framework. In conventional, we have CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. When we talk about the industrial cyber security, we have availability, integrity, and confidentiality. So this is one major difference between a conventional ICT cybersecurity and when we talk about industry cybersecurity. Now, why this operational technology? So in a simple word, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to use those technical words time and again. Industrial control system, SCADA, Modbus, okay. So a term has been given that is known as operational technology. So all the industry related cyber security concept comes under OT, operational technology. That's why I'll be talking about OT more than mentioning time and again ICS, SCADA, and other things. Okay. So now all these things have been grouped under the umbrella of a OT, that is operational technology. Now, let's have a quick comparison between a conventional IT security and a OT security. So when we talk about IT security, there we deal with the automation of information. Okay. But when we talk about industrial security, there we talk about automation of physical processes. Okay. Because those processes need to be automated so you can enhance the productivity, you can enhance the efficiency of your supply chain. Now, in IT security, most of the activity that takes place is logical, but here, when we talk about OT security, there are many things which are in the physical domain, and you have to take care of their security also. Now, when we talk about the cyber security framework, in the conventional IT environment, your cyber security framework will be based on a CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, wherein when we talk about the industry, physical security and the safety will be based on AIC, availability, integrity, and confidentiality. In IT security, you use one of the most popular model, whatever we call it for the communication, what we call it TCP/IP suite. But in the OT security, you may not have that kind of, because TCP/IP suite is de facto communication protocol that is being used in the IT, but when we talk about the OT, you will find the communication protocols are totally different. There we talk about Modbus, there we talk about Profibus. Now, in the IT domain, you find that obsolescence of technology is very fast. Even you take computer, you take mobile, you are changing your mobile every year, you are changing your computer after 5 years, because technology is evolving very fast and upgradations are available. New devices are available with new features, upgraded protocols. But when we talk about industry, it has a mix of old and new technology. Okay, so legacy system is going to stay, and legacy system in some of the industry is given very, or too much of importance is attached to it. So you have to understand that also. Average to good cybersecurity awareness is required when we talk about the IT security, but when we talk about the awareness of the industrial cybersecurity, we find that there's limited knowledge or there's no knowledge about the cybersecurity. I will just cite one more example here. In the south, one of the nuclear power plant was targeted by the cyber criminals. Okay, and the people who were responsible for managing that setup or the IT security posture or the ecosystem of that plant, they were in the denial mode. Okay, and then there were news in the western part of the India and one of the major city, the power grid was targeted by the cyber criminals, and the power grid was shut down because of that. But there are no confirmed news that whether it was a cyber attack, but the way media brought out the news, I am talking about that. So now, in both these cases, the people who are dealing with the resources there, the cybersecurity resources, they were in the denial mode. Why they were in the denial mode? Because probably, until unless you have the knowledge that what is OT security and what kind of alerts are there when you are targeted, and what are those alerts, and how you will come to know that this is a cyber attack. So there's a requirement of a trained people, so they understand, and then only they will be able to detect. So initially, both these plants, their responsible people, they were in the denial mode initially. Now, one thing is denial mode, but if it is due to the awareness, then it is a serious issue. Because the major challenge which the industrial security is facing, that there is a dearth of experts. How you will get those experts, and who will train those experts? If you train those experts, then only they will come to know. Then they will only be able to detect, and they will be able to make out or ascertain that it is a cyber attack. If you have an untrained manpower who are managing the ICT resources there, they will never ever be able to make out that whether it is a cyber attack or it is a normal malfunction which has happened in the plant. And let me tell you, it's not only in India. Even the advanced nations, they are facing challenges, and that's why the research in the open areas of OT security has been given boost and a due importance by many countries. So now this is very important to understand that what has changed in the industry and why I should be bothered about the cyber security of the industry. Okay, so this is very, very important that in 1784, when the industrial revolution started, so the first mechanical loom was realized. Okay, so it was a steam-based mechanical production, and that has been termed as Industry 1.0. From there, your industrial revolution started. And then, with the invention of the electricity in 1870, first assembly line was realized. It was an electricity-based mass production system. So they called it Industry 2.0. Then the major breakthrough came in 1969, what they call it Industry 3.0. Now, what happened? By 1969, there are two important things happened. One was that the research and development on the semiconductors, it had attained a level of maturity. Second thing, because of the advanced research in semiconductors, it was possible to miniaturize the size of the devices. And now that gave birth to the new concept, and that is what you call it, PLC, programmable logic controllers, PLCs. Okay, so with this semiconductor research and development and the miniaturization, people started controller-based automation. and first programmable controller was realized, what we call it PLC, and it started controlling the logic-based business control in the industries. So that was in the year 1969, and I will call it an important milestone in the progression of cyber and physical development. Okay. Now, that was 1969, and now it is 2022. Now, within this span of, let's say, 50 years or 52 years, what has happened? Within this span of 52 years, now we are talking about VLSI, very large scale integration. The chip size has become very, very small, and it contains many chips inside. We are talking about high processing microcontrollers, microprocessors. Okay, so now the semiconductor research has been taken to a totally different level. And now, not only the fast processing is possible using these devices, these FPGAs, these microprocessor, microcontrollers, VLSIs, those CMOS designs, but it has also given boost to some of the technology like Internet of Things. So now with this miniaturization, it is possible that any object can be given some processing power, and it can be given some intelligence, and then with this processing power, intelligence, and some means to communicate, that device can generate the requisite output. Okay, that's why the Internet of Things gained so much of momentum. And then the vision of the people or the industry which is promoting the Internet of Things is that we want billions and billions of devices every year to be connected on the global internet, maybe the internet which is more bigger in size and scale than the internet itself. And each device should have a processing power, intelligence, and communication capability. It should be as miniaturized as possible. So what they mean, that your fan, your toothbrush, your shoes, everything should be, IoT device. That is the vision of the people who are promoting the IoT, or the industry which is promoting the IoT. Now, how it has changed the landscape of the entire industry. So let's understand that. Okay. Now, the two important things, that in all the major industry, they work on two important things: supply and demand. Okay. So if there's a demand, then there will be supply, and then the entire supply chain will be aligned accordingly. So there are three important concepts. One is demand, then supply, and then supply chain. So earlier, what used to happen, that most of the industry, when the technologies were not so evolved, they, based on their previous year, sale or the estimates, projected estimates, market trend, they used to, align their production line. Okay. And then the product used to move to warehouses, it used to be stored there, and then it was delivered, and accordingly, supply line was geared up. But now, what was the disadvantage of this kind of setup? The disadvantage of this kind of setup was that it increased the cost. You need to have a warehouse, that warehouse need to be managed. So the additional cost was involved. And if the stuff is dumped there or the product is dumped there for a longer time, you need security, it is consuming the space. So a lot of other factors were there and it was increasing the cost. Now, with the advancement in the technology, most of the industry, they decided why not align these 3-4 important functionalities: supply, demand, supply, demand, production, supply chain. So make it intelligent and then cut down the cost. So now the cyber or the ICT setup or the technology played a big role in this. How it played a big role in this is that now you have your ERP systems. Most of the industry, they have ERP system. It has different modules. It is added with analytics. It is added with a lot of intelligence. So they know what is the demand and what is the supply requirement related to supply. And they have also, to a large extent, most of the industry, they are cutting down on the warehousing cost. How they are cutting down? The moment they get a demand, they tell their, they align their production line and they tell their setup, okay, we have got a requirement of 10,000, 20,000 such products. Please produce them and then align with the supply chain so it can be delivered. So that's why what is happening these days, when you place a requirement of a computer in India, it is not going to be delivered to you from your warehouse. If the quantity is 100, 200, 300, 400, what they do, they align with their partner in Ireland or maybe in Singapore, where there would be the production centers. So those production centers, through their ERP systems which are connected, they align with them. Immediately they produce that stuff, then they align their supply chain and it is delivered to the end user. So this is what is Industry 4.0. But now, what is the challenge? One challenge is that a lot of IoT is also used, especially to align your demand, supply, production line, supply chain management. A lot of IoT devices are being used. I'll give you one example. You have your washing machines, and most of the washing machine these days, if you see, it comes with front loading or top loading. And then these brands, they also have their detergent powders and they market it like, front loading, washing powder or a top loading washing powder. But now what is happening, that once the powder is finished, you don't have to go to the market. Okay. What you can do, you can simply, there will be a IoT device along with that machine, your washing machine. That device will have requisite processing. That device will have a requisite intelligence. So the moment your detergent is finished, you have to only push the button. And you push the button, signal will go to the ERP system, and accordingly all supply chain will be aligned, and the detergent will be delivered to your home. So that is what when we talk about Industry 4.0, so we are talking about ubiquitous production and control. This is what I mean by ubiquitous production and control. But now what is happening, that because of this kind of functionality, you have a different kind of cybersecurity challenges now. There's a different kind of cyber threat. And the major issue is that IoT devices are not secure. It is not secure at all. Why it is not secure? Because the entire industry has focused on keeping it miniaturized, only adding the requisite processing power and the intelligence. If you want to add the security in that device, you need to add space, you need to add more processing, you need to add more storage and more software related functionality. But in the IoT, there are two things which is important: miniaturization and cost. How you will do the cost cutting and the miniaturize if you want to add additional feature. So that's why security is a gray area when we talk about the IoT. And with the IoT being integrated with the OT, with the Industry 4.0, the level of challenges are totally different, and it is on a much higher scale than what we see or what we perceive in real. I'll just touch upon one case study. This is a very popular case study, and why it is important, that you have to understand that even when your computers are not connected with the internet or a major intranet, then also it's possible to infect your system and damage can be rendered. So now, with that perspective, this case study of Stucknest worm is very important, and it is discussed in many forums. So you know that Iranian nuclear enrichment program, it was very important for the Iranians, especially if you want to acquire the capabilities. Okay. So now if you want to acquire the nuclear capability, one of the most important step in that is uranium enrichment. Once you successfully complete that process, then only you can acquire the nuclear capability. Okay. But then there were many nations, or the adversary in this case was interested in delaying the Iranian nuclear enrichment program. Okay, so what they did, that they developed a special kind of exploit. Okay, and that exploit infected a particular programmable logic controller software. And why that particular PLC software was affected or targeted? Because those PLCs were used in the Iranian nuclear enrichment plant, and it was controlling the speed of the centrifugal, setup which was there. So now how it worked? So it is how it worked and how it damaged those centrifuges. So it was basically a software sabotage. Okay, and what happened that there was a computer which was connected with a, the setup that was controlling the rotation of the centrifuges. Okay. Now, this rotation of the speed was managed through a computer, and that computer had a software which was controlling the PLC. This PLC has a logic for controlling the rotational speed. So now this particular malware, it looked for when it went or when it reached that system, it only looked for that particular software. Okay. The PLC was of the Siemens make, so it looked for a particular software that was designed by the Siemens, and when it found the software, it only infected that software, nothing else. None of the machine was infected. It only infected that software. Okay, so stuckness spreads through the system until it finds computers running the Siemens control software step 7. Step 7 was the name of that software, which is responsible for regulating the rotational speed of the centrifuges. The computer worm varies the rotational speed of the centrifuges. This can destroy the centrifuges and impair uranium enrichment. So what happened that if you impair the speed of the centrifuges, you can impair those. It used to break down those centrifuges, and then once there's a breakdown in that centrifuges, it means it will delay your enrichment process. So that is what they intended to do, and they were able to do that. Okay, the stuckness attack started in June 2009. From this point on, the number of inoperative centrifuges increased sharply. This is the source is IAEA. Now you can see on the right bottom corner, some figures are given. In the next slide, I will give you. Okay. So now in this case, the actual target was not to infect the machines. It looked for a particular model, okay, of a PLC software. Okay. Now, when it found that particular PLC model, and how it found that? Through the help of that PLC software which was there installed in the machine. The PLCs were installed in a SCADA system which were controlled by computer, and it was Symmetric WinCC Step 7 controller software were used in Iran's crucial nuclear facilities. It controlled the frequency converters that regulated the speed of the centrifuges in the enrichment program. Stuckness infected controller software. It changed particular bits of data in the controller PLCs and commanded the equipment to speed in a destructive manner, leading to the centrifuges destroying themselves. Natanz nuclear plant at Iran was severely affected. Okay, so maybe this was the first reported case of a mass scale. And how this is stuckness update work? Two ways to update itself: check back to two control servers placed at two geographically different locations. It also used a peer-to-peer update system. When two stuckness infections encounter each other, they compared the version and made sure they both have the most recent one. And then it also had a kill date. Okay, 24 January 2012 was the kill date for the stuckness worm. Now, why it was a kill date? Because there are two reasons. Most of the advanced malwares, they always come with a kill date because two reasons. First of all, they want to evade the detection. Second thing, when there's a strategic attack is involved, okay, so once the mission is over, then the malware should remove all the traces. Okay, so detection is not possible at the later stage also. People should, or the target should not come to know that it was ever infected by the malware. So that's why it comes with a kill date. So what was the uniqueness of this Stuxnet malware implemented by thumb drive? Cyberworm that then evolved on its own and infected software all over the world. 60% of virus was found in Iran alone. It operated under complete secrecy and hid all traces that could expose its existence, which made victim unaware of attack. It caused severe damage in the Iranian enrichment program. Approximately 2,000 centrifuges were sabotaged through this cyber attack. Okay. Stuxnet achieved its aim without the use of violence, and that is what I call it the next generation of warfare. Okay. Now, why it is also put into the category of a cyber war. So Stuxnet has mode of attack and cyber war. So there are 2-3 important points which I am going to highlight here. The physical destruction caused by the cyber war and the political conflict between Iran and suspected perpetrator can define Stuxnet as a cyber war, specifically made with the intention to sabotage Iran enrichment program, because without that nuclear enrichment, you cannot achieve that nuclear capability. Aim was to postpone Iran's nuclear enrichment program through hindering their facilities to function while acting in complete secrecy. The ultimate aim was to sabotage Iran's nuclear program in a manner that would eliminate its existence, but rather delay it to buy the international community some time to pressure Iran through sanctions and negotiations, and perhaps to plan for complementary policy measures. Cyber attack could therefore be argued to be rather unconventional but unlethal method of delaying the developments of Iran's nuclear program. So what were the major lessons learned? Air-gapped systems need some degree of procedural security, okay, as internet-connected systems. The default password need to be changed. The point in case is Siemens SCADA system. In this case, what happened? The software which was used to manage this PLC, there was a default password in that. So the user had not changed the password. And that's why that PLC could be easily breached. Industrial control automation systems controlled by programs need to be audited periodically by the cybersecurity experts. Critical information infrastructure and critical national information infrastructure need higher degree of cybersecurity scrutiny. Pool of cybersecurity experts to handle zero-day attacks and unconventional cybersecurity challenges. The geopolitics and defense policies cannot be in isolation. The bigger picture need to be comprehended to understand the landscape. Robust cybersecurity plan to be in place to remain prepared in such eventualities. So these were the major lessons learned because of this Stuxnet. Now, this is, I spoke about the threat landscape. I just touched upon one of the use cases. But now, how to protect? There are many challenges, but how to protect? Now, to protect your system, you need to understand that what is the architecture of your industrial control system. So at the bottom, what we call it level 0, you have sensor or actuators, that is known as a process control. It comes under your control zone, and that is again categorized as a process control. So those sensors are connected to a basic control, okay, that is called as level 1. So you may have many sensors, and those sensors may be grouped, and then it may be to be controlled, okay, or you may have thousands of sensors. All the sensors are grouped according to a particular category, and then it has to be controlled, okay, either through a batch control or a discrete control or a continuous control or a high bit control. Now further, you need to have another level where you can have a supervisory control over all those sensors, okay, or you need to have a human machine interface wherein if you want to do some changes in the prescribed parameters related to the PLC, you can do that, okay. And then you also need to have a machine, okay. Through that machine, if you want to do any setting in the PLC, that you can do that, okay, for that supervisory control, okay. So that forms part of your level 2. And then your level 3 is basically you need to have your engineering stations, your site operations and control. There may be many sites which would be there. You want to have a have a complete visibility of the different sites which are there. Then you would like to optimize all the controls, so you can have a level 3. And then you can also have a demilitarized zone. Demilitarized zone is nothing. For example, I want to connect my industrial control system with my corporate network. Then I will have, I can have 2 more layers, layer 4 and layer 5. Layer 5 is nothing. If I want to connect my industrial control system with the corporate network or internet, then I have to go for a level 5. And in that level 5 also, I need a 1 layer of protection wherein all my patch management, antivirus servers, my mirror images of the logs, okay, or my web services, all of my application server should have no access by the public. Then I need to create a demilitarized zone, and then I need to put those assets in that demilitarized zone. So only my internal user who are authorized, they can access it. But the public, because the moment you will have level 5 internet or a connect to a public network, there is a fear of outsider who may access your resources. But to do away that, you need to create a demilitarized zone wherein there will not be a public access to these resources, but the internal authorized users can always access the resources. So that's why this demilitarized zone is created and policies are configured accordingly. So this is what the setup. There are 5 labels. In fact, I will call it, there are 6 labels. It starts with level 0, and in the most of the industrial control system, you may find only 3 labels. Your sensors, your PLCs directly connected to your HMI or your supervisory control, basic systems. And then it may have some application server if required, and it may not be connected to your enterprise corporate network. Okay, so that is also a basic kind of setup you'll find in many plants. But then it all depends how big that plant is and what kind of functionalities they want. So accordingly, but you will find at most there will be 6 levels starting from level 0 to level 5, and this is grouped into your enterprise zone, demilitarized zone, and then you will have a control zone, and the control zone will be further grouped into level 0, level 1, level 2, and level 3. That is nothing but a process control, basic control, and area supervisory control. So this is what the setup of a conventional industrial control system. Now, if so much of threat is there, what to do? So you can protect your OT infrastructure. For that, you need to have a plan. You need to have a cyber security plan. And when we talk about the cyber security plan, there are two important documents. One is your cyber security policy, and another is your cyber crisis management plan. So policy is basically an intent document which will, lay down the complete, because whatever the organizational intent is there to protect their systems, to protect their ICT setup or the industrial setup, that intent need to be written on a paper, and then on that paper all the ways and means has to be also there, how to protect it, okay, and how to safeguard your system. What should be the preventive measures? What are the SOPs? What are the procedures? What are the ways and means to safeguard them? What at a user level, what the user will have a responsibility? What at the system level, what all steps need to be taken, how it will be implemented? All these things will form part of your cybersecurity policy. But now, a breach has happened, then how to contain that breach? How to ensure that even if that breach has happened, then there should be a continuity of the business. And besides that continuity of the business, so there your detection, containment, continuity of the business, and then preventive measures, it is important. So those are grouped in a cyber crisis management plan. So every organization should have two type of documents. One is your cyber security policy, another is your cyber crisis management plan. So these two documents are important. Okay. Now what to do? Where to start? Okay. First of all, I have to make out a list of the OT assets I have, okay, in my organization. I cannot be in a denial mode if the attack has happened. How to start? So you have to prepare the inventory, okay? So you have to prepare the inventory. And how to prepare the inventory? So all the devices which you have, I have listed L0 to L5. There are 6 layers. So in that 6 layers, all the devices which you have, prepare the list of that, put it in your inventory, see that what kind of devices it has, whether it has met end of life, the security patches of these devices are available or not, it is updated or not. All these things you have to see. Accordingly, you have to take the stock of your systems, your applications, your network, and then important part is that what you have to look at those. I'll just take an example that if you are talking about the applications, for example, application which is being used for controlling the PLC, you have to ensure that the audit and vulnerability assessment of that application has been done. Okay. If you are using that application is a bigger application and it is hosted on some server, then you have to see that hosting platform is secure. You have to also see that that hosting platform is infrastructure based or that hosting platform is a cloud based. So it is complying with all that security compliances or not. For example, you have a system which is being used for managing the business in your particular industry. So that machine should be hardened, unnecessarily ports should be blocked, SMB plot not being used, blocked, all the NetBoys ports not being used, blocked. patch management, all the patch has to be updated. Take a regular security patches to be maintained. If you have a network connected kind of setup, then the perimeter security may have IDS, IPS, or a firewall, or a next generation firewall, which may have all these things: IDS, IPS, sandboxing, web filtering. So now, whether those policies are there or not, okay, those policies are relevant to your organization or not. Do you have a service level agreement with the ISP or not if you are connected to our internet? So in case if you need any logs, he should give you those logs. Then behavioral aspect is also very important. User role and responsibility you have to lay down. You have to tell him that you have to maintain 3 level of password, BIOS password. You have to tell them why BIOS password is important. You have to tell them you have to have a standard password, and then you should not be logging in your computer as an administrative user unless you are doing something which requires administrative privileges. You have to, and how it can be done? It can be done through a cybersecurity culture. So every organization should have some CISO or a IT officer or a cybersecurity officer. Then you need to have a nodal center. That nodal center should be a designated security establishment. It should deal with all security related issues. Then you should have a audit. You should have a reports and written that you should take a monthly report, 6 monthly report. Okay, regarding your simply. Okay, all the inventory has to be shared on a monthly basis or a 6 monthly basis. So you get the inventory, you know that which of the equipment has met end of the life. Now sometimes the advisories have been issued that this application is vulnerable. So when you get your inventory from the organization, then only you will come to know that they are using this kind of application. So you need to have a report and return, and accordingly you need to issue the advisories and guideline, and then you can make a compliance matrix also. That in this section, this device is used. This device, it has latest support. Put a tick mark wherever there's a, as per the report and return, there's a no compliance, put a cross mark and pursue with them. Don't leave it. Pursue with them till it is closed. And training is very important. Briefing and awareness lecture is very important. Capacity building is very important. You should put the people for a long-term, short-term training. Promote open source platform, because open source platform, most of the things are visible. You know which security framework they're using and all. Proprietary software, most of the things are hidden, only known to the selected people. So then you should have an incident management and technical support team, and they should be trained. They should know how to manage the incident. Then you should have a vulnerability assessment and auditing capability. Now, when we talk about the cyber crisis management point, the previous was important with a cyber security policy. But when you talk about cyber security management plan, the most important thing is that you should have a capability to detect the attack. Then thereafter, you should have a capability to identify. Once you have detected, then what kind of attack it was, what was the target, what kind of threat it has, what was the modus operandi, what is the source of that attack. And then in the response, once you have realized that this is the level of how to contain this attack, you have to align with your technical support people. You need to have your incident management team. You need to have your SOPs. You need to have a document which lays out whom to report, what to report, and how to escalate the reporting. All those numbers need to be listed. Contact numbers need to be listed. And what should be their response? They can't tell that it is Sunday, I can't come. It is a, Vijayadashmi, I am busy. I'm enjoying my, fafadas and jalebi and I can't come. They can't say like that. They have to, it is like you must have seen that the firefighters, how they respond. So similarly, the moment, they are contacted, they have to respond immediately. Okay. Without any excuses and, any reasons, then remediation is very important. If attack has happened, you should not be, simply sitting idle. Okay, attack has happened, I can't do anything. No, business continuity is very, very important. Disaster recovery plan is very important, and that's why we say that you should have a plan A and plan B. If your system has come under attack, you should have an alternate channel. You should have an alternate setup. And the moment your system has come under attack, you should contain that and you should operationalize that alternate plan. You should have a contingency plan. That is very, very important. So business continuity, how it can be achieved, how it can be realized. So this document will contain all these steps. Then your management cell, your computer emergency response team, that is very important part of remediation. Monitoring of the preventive organizations. When the incident has been reported, you have to report it to some of the organization, like CERTIN has to be reported. They have recently come out with a guideline that what all kind of incidents to be reported to CERTIN. So now, which all organization it has to be reported, so accordingly you have to align and then report it to them. So how you can realize this cyber crisis management plan? So you have to formulate a guideline to detect, identify, and what could be the possible targets. Then you have to nominate person, appointments responsible for detecting and identifying the response. If required, you have to train them. Then you have to prepare your OT inventory. Then you have to identify that what in your OT inventory is sensitive, and that you can group it as critical information infrastructure resource. Then you have to have a institutional setup to manage the crisis. You form a committee. Somebody should be head of that committee. So when the crisis is reported, he should get to the work. He should immediately respond, and then he should also activate the other members. Then you should have a nodal incident management cell that should be made functional. Then you also should have a coordination with the CERT, public CIA, PC. Why it is important? Because they can guide you once you report the incident, or they may take it on and they may guide you what to do. Then incident management and closure is very important. You have to manage the incident and you have to bring it to the conclusive end. You can't leave it open-ended. At the same time, it is very, very important that your business should not stop. There should be continuity of business. And then you all should also have a disaster recovery plan. So all those things are very, very important. Then you should have, if you are availing some of the services from the third party, then you should have a robust service level agreement with them. Otherwise, he will not cooperate. If you want a log or you want any support from them, you have to mention in this service level agreement, and then accordingly, when you are drafting a service level agreement, you have to be very, very, careful. Else, this party will not respond. Implement the best practices. That is also important. There are certain things known as cybersecurity health indicators. Okay, you need to have a regular report and return. All the people who are dependent on you, on your organization, or the sections, divisions, if it is your organization is located in a different parts of the country. So you should have a mechanism. You should prepare a format that they should be sending you a report in a particular format. It will help you to understand. For example, if you make mandatory for them to carry out 6 monthly audit or a yearly audit, how do you know that they have got it conducted or not? For that, you should need to have a report and return form. Okay. So now in that report and return form, it would be indicated that, okay, when the last audit was done. That's why it is very, very important. So for example, you can keep some small, it is a very exhaustive form because I have prepared the cyber crisis management plan for an organization, so I know. But then you can keep it brief or you can keep it, little detailed. It all depends what is the size of your organization and where all your, infrastructure is spread. What are the tools and technology you are using? But then It can have some columns like last audit done, the antivirus expiry date, last patch management done. Okay, what is the end of life of the equipment? Okay, so all these details it can be have. So the more detailed report is, it will help you to understand the cybersecurity health of your organization. So you have to promote a cybersecurity culture like what I'm speaking to you. It is also part of the promotion or the awareness campaign which we have launched during this cybersecurity awareness month. Similarly, you can have in your organization some campaign, some lectures, some briefings for sensitizing them. It may not be a highly technical topic. One day you can pick up one of the social media platform and you can talk about the security of that social media. One day you can pick up a topic if you are in the industry about the PLC security, and you can demonstrate them how the PLC security can be managed. Indications, reports from monitoring agencies, these are also important. Some of the monitoring agencies also alert you. Okay. So with this, I have come to my end of my lecture. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. Any questions?
Students, if you have any questions, you can put down in the chat or you can put down in the Q&A session.
Don't have any questions?
So we do have one question in the chat box. I mean in the Q&A session.
Please read it out. Please read it out.
So,
how did the stuckness enter the facility? Okay.
yes.
Good question. Now let me tell you that this is one of the example wherein the system was air gapped and however it was still infected. Am I right? This is the question. How did the stuckness enter the facility?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now this is a very interesting story. And if you read those stories which are available in a public domain, what happens? This is a very typical case. Okay. And it has mix of many things. Now, when you look at the timeline, when this attack was happened, what was the kill date? If I remember correctly, the malware, came into existence in 2009, and the kill date was 2012. Okay. Now, the place which was targeted, it may not that time, it might not have that kind of evolved ICT infrastructure. And it is believed that from pen drive, it has gone to the system which was connected with that conveyor frequency controller or the belt or the conveyor which controlled the rotation of the centrifuges. Okay. So through a pen drive, infected pen drive, it reached to a system or a workstation. And how it reached, let me put it like this, that when major players, they have a very strong tactics, okay, and modus operandi. So it's not only, they will not be only using only the technology. Human factor is also involved. Okay. So what we call it, in the cases of cyber espionages, cyber sabotage. Most of the time you will find that the countries which have some interest in other countries, they also plant their spies, okay? And those spies, they also facilitate these kind of activities. So in this case, it can't be ruled out that the human involvement can't be ruled out completely. Okay. And because it was not connected with a corporate network or an internet. So the perpetrator in this case could have not reached to an end system through the channel which is usually available to attackers when they are connected to a corporate network or an internet. So the role of a human spy or human agent in this case can't be ruled out. I hope I have answered your question. And that is what some of the stories which are in the public domain, it talks about the spies, and then they carry out recce also of those areas which is of interest to them, and then how to target the people, how to target their machines, or how to facilitate that kind of attack. Now, any other question?
Thank you, sir. No, sir, we don't have any other question. Shall I move to concluding remarks, sir?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We always have you in the spot as you always deliver the best. So good news, students. I know I stand between you and lunch, but if I let you go, I'll be failing in the duty to thank everyone who made this possible. There can be no better start to the month of October, which we always recognize it as Cyber Awareness Month, than the session from Professor Naveen, sir. Talking about the OT security and challenges, sir shared insights on Industry 1.0 to Industry 4.0, how technological advancements were made, how threats or cyber attacks also advanced, and how challenges advance to mitigate those threats and safeguard the systems. I would like to thank you, sir, on behalf of School of Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics, as we all know that all the programs are incomplete without your presence and your inspiring words. Also, a big thanks to Dr. Digvijay, sir, for having things in streamline and also for his continuous coordination and efforts. I would also like to appreciate the team who have made the best arrangements possible within short span of time. But at the same time, a very big thanks to all the students in showing the enthusiasm after long Garba night outs and definitely contributing your time and remaining present in a count of over 150. Thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you, sir, for this session.
Thank you.